Around October of 1995, the provincial government issued a new guideline for income assistance. People applying for income assistance had to be a resident of British Columbia for the last 3 months. That affected many people, particularly those coming from other provinces, but our concern was that had a tremendously negative impact of refugee claimants coming from outside the country. The government response in the media was, well, whoever doesn't like it can go back to their province of origin. In the case that concerned us, refugee claimants, the reality was that those claimants could not go anywhere else. They were coming from outside the country and needed to receive some assistance to survive. We started our advocacy. We formed a coalition with other agencies and other groups, human rights groups and so on, and started a dialogue with the government. Eventually we met with the minister, presented our case, and having no response and considering that the winter was coming, we decided to take a more a different approach, and we organized a refugee protest camp. The camp was set up in the Victoria Park, a block away from MOSAIC. It grew we started with a tarp and a table where we provided a press conference, but in 2 days we had approximately 20 tents and many people, mostly refugee claimants, supporters, advocates, and community members in the camp. Our intention was very clear. We just wanted to make the point that this policy was not very good and would harm refugee claimants beyond what they have already suffered or experienced to get to Canada. Eventually, we decided to close the camp. It lasted a few days, but we realized that we had made a point. The government and government delegates came to the camp and asked us to also stop the protest, and we said that our intention was not to antagonize the government, but to make a point about the impact of a policy that could be amended easily. They took their time. We closed the camp, but eventually they rescinded the 3 months residency policy, and they made exceptions for refugee claimants, so we, in a sense, achieved our objective. When I think about that particular event, 20 years now, over 20 years ago, I realized that for the work we were doing at MOSAIC, it wasn't an extraordinary step. It was part of how we understood advocacy and supporting refugee claimants and refugees and new immigrants. We understood the different degrees of advocacy, and when a measure so drastic and harmful came upon the most vulnerable of all people, we realized that we needed to do an action that was a response to counter such a draconian measure. And I think we were successful. One important element of this protest was the solidarity we received from the community, the neighbors, other agencies, and so on. And just as an example, every morning we received coffee, freshly done by the Café Roma in the corner of Commercial and Grand. So they would come every morning with fresh coffee and many other gestures of solidarity and support for our activity. So it's great to see an agency like MOSAIC turning 40. And MOSAIC plays a tremendously significant role in supporting immigrants and refugees in finding their way in Canada, in British Columbia, in the Lower Mainland. And the ultimate benefit of MOSAIC is for the whole community, for the community as a whole. Everybody benefits from MOSAIC's work, not just immigrants and refugees. Immigrants and refugees receive the service and are supported in their first years, but when an immigrant and a refugee or a refugee reach their potential, we all benefit from that. We all benefit from a professional immigrant working in his or her trade. We all benefit from a refugee claimant being able to establish themselves in Canada and reunite with their family. We are all richer as refugees and immigrants are successful. So that's MOSAIC's contribution to the community, and I hope it continues to work this way for many, many years to come. Feliz cumpleaños, MOSAIC.